Why? Chance Elger's 12 here, and how to start this review? How to sum up Metallica-St Anger without thinking, really? Really? I mean, I get it. I get it. The band had to get to its roots. The band had a breakdown. They didn't know what to do. I'm not going to go through the track listing because fix the glasses. Not because of that. Because I really need to talk as much as I can about this album without going overboard and making this video like 20, 30 minutes long. So, St. Anger is an album that's so hard to place in. It's so hard to place where it would go or why it would even be created. But I will defend the band a little bit. Because, like I said in the first review I did in this album, forever ago, back in my long hair days, that St. Anger had a purpose. The purpose was for the band to be a more... that feel of starting out as a band, because Jason Newsted, after 14 years of being in the band as a bass player after Cliff's death, he left. He left, and he just didn't look back. And he says he doesn't regret leaving them, even though Metallica's making millions and he's barely getting any money from his band. But that's not a diss. It's just, I don't know. He had to do it for himself. So this makes sense for Metallica to do this for the St. Anger thing. It makes sense that they had to do this because they felt like a band, a four-piece band, even though at first, and I think through the whole entire time Jason was there, they considered themselves the three guys and Jason. So Jason wasn't really a part of the official Metallica. He was just a bassist. But some people might argue that that's not true, but the way they treated him, it sure felt like that he was just an extra guy. But if he would not have left, I don't think St. Anger would not have been made. It wouldn't. I think St. Anger happened because of what Jason Newsted did. He left the band and they had a breakdown. James left for a year to go to rehab, and that tore the band apart like that. Jason was the reason why James left. Because after Jason left, they all looked at themselves and went, what are we doing? And James left. When he came back, and that's what St. Anger is. James came back after a year of rehab, and there you go, St. Anger. Because the song's a lot about, rehab type stuff. It's just a very garage sounding album. But it's I think, in my opinion, if Bob Rock would not have went down that route of like, okay, so here are the songs. Okay, here are the songs. Okay, so I could either make a good quality production and have Lars' snare drum actually tune, or wait, I have a better idea. Let's make it the crappiest quality possible and then take it a step above that and make it even crappier. Let's do that. That'd be the smart thing to do, because that's what garage bands did back in the day. They had the crappiest quality possible. The sad part is, garage bands nowadays, and even back then, had better quality than St. Anger. And I just don't understand where it came from. Bob Rock, right? Who did the Black Album. The Black Album! May I repeat? The Black Album! He produced it. He made it. He made it on a pedestal. He made the album what it is. He made the Black Album. He made it. He made the production. If it wasn't for Bob Rock's production quality sound for the Black Album would not be where it is today, or where it was when it first came out. Then we have Load and Reload. Now, a lot of people argue, not the best songs, it's not Metallica, but you can't argue the fact that the production quality on Load and Reload are amazing. You can't argue that. I mean, if you want to, but you're going to be wrong, because the production quality is amazing for those two records. But to go from that, the Black Album on its pedestal, right over here, so you can see it, and then Load and Reload, two great albums in their own right, with great production quality, and then we have St. Anger, which you can't see, but it goes straight down. That's how bad it was. What happened to Bob Rock? Did Bob Rock just go a little like, hey, I have an idea. I'm going to go do some drugs, and I'm going to come back and produce this album for you. I personally think that's what happened. Or maybe Bob Rock was like looking at myself like, okay, I've been with the band for this long, so I'm going to make their album sound like crap. So I know I've been talking a lot bit about the production quality, the band's backstory, but St. Anger had its purpose because St. Anger had to happen. Because the band was, like I said, they were looking at themselves and they just felt torn. So they had to go back to the garage sounding ways. But this album could have been good. It could have been good. Could have. This is a big jump. This is like the jump I did last week for Weekly Metal Topic. Talking about, is any part of Lulu any good? Where I made that big jump where if it was an instrumental album. This is basically that, maybe a step further above that jump. Because this album might be good if Lars's snare drum was actually tuned, right? And the production quality as a whole was at least like Load and Reload. I'm not asking for a Black Album type pedestal all the way up here. I'm talking about some good quality production. You know, even Death Magnetic production quality would have been better than this. I'm thinking, so here's the hypothetical question, besides the review. Would this album be any good, or would it be a good album if the production quality was at least Load and Reload, or even Death Magnetic for a lower extent, and Lars' snare, which is probably the most hated thing on the record besides no guitar solos not being tuned, would it be better? I don't know. But the whole thing is, this album is just really sad. It's depressing. It's Metallica at its core, and I don't like it. Maybe it's because of James Hetfield, because at the time he just got out of rehab, and he's just like, okay, here's the songs, but I want to write about rehab stuff. I want to do that. A lot of the songs talk about alcoholism and just have some weird moments. Just the lyrics on this album sometimes sounds kind of weird. Like he was in his own little world, and his world was like playing, like just freaking out. And that's how he wrote, because he wrote in that world of, I just got out of rehab. Metallica's, we don't know where Metallica's gonna go. We don't know. So I think that if James Hetfield was in the right mind, like let's say Death Magnetic, at the time of St. Anger, the lyrical content would have been better. Would not have fixed the production quality or the snare drum or the no guitar solos, but maybe. There's a lot of assumptions I can make about how this album could be better. But this album is what it is. A garage sounding album with really crappy quality production, and sometimes people argue that there's a lot of crappy songs in here. Now, I didn't go through the track listing, but the songs in my highlight that I can think of right off the top of my head, highlights for me is Frantic, St. Anger, Sweet Amber, The Unnamed Feeling, Some Kind of Monster, and I'm thinking, is there another song? I think that's it. The ones of highlights for me, the highlights of the album. The rest of the songs, I don't know. But when I think about the album, I understand the production quality is crap. But those songs that I said that are highlights, in my opinion, are the songs that, to me, made me understand St. Anger more. The other songs, I just didn't feel it. Oh, Dirty Window. Sorry, it's one more song. Dirty Window's great. But there's some songs in this album that are just terrible. It's terrible. They don't make sense. But they're there, but they don't make sense. But those highlight songs, including Dirty Window that I said, made me like this album, but the production quality is bad. Really bad. Just why? But anyways, so if you are a new Metallica fan, if you just now discover Metallica, stay away from St. Anger. That is the last thing you should ever hear. And you should hear it when you love and respect Metallica. Because the first thing you hear, if let's say you discover Metallica from Enter Sandman, which is a typical one, Master Puppets, or somebody gives you a Master Puppets album like, hey man, listen to this. They let like, oh, this is awesome. And then you come across a St. Anger song on YouTube or something, don't click it. No! At the time when you can love and respect the band for who they are, from the first 4 albums, the Black Album, Load and Reload, Death Magnetic, Beyond Magnetic, S&M, whatever, live shows, whatever. When you can love and respect the band for everything they've done, then see St. Anger. But understand why it happened. Because a lot of people don't look at it as a album that, okay, I understand why this happened. The band was going through a breakdown. They were just in their own little world. They just felt torn apart from Jason Newsted leaving and everything. And so, yeah, it's like that's why they did it. Like, it had to happen. But no, people are looking at this album like, okay, this is the crappiest production quality ever. There's no guitar solos. The lyrics suck. This thing sucks. Everything about this album sucks. but they're not looking at it as a standpoint from why the band did it. So, even though I bashed a lot and said things, there is a reason behind this. Like I said before, the band was torn apart. They had to do it. They had to do it for themselves. They can't just go in with losing their bass player for 14 years and just write another metal record or write another Load or Reload. They couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. If I was in a band and we were 3 guys and we had a bass player because of, the first bass player died in a tragic bus accident. Rest in peace, Cliff Burton. Just saying that. And the bass player just winds up leaving. I'm not going to write another record like we've done before. It's crazy. It's crazy. But it had to happen for a reason. So, the gist of this album, to sum up all this about 11 minutes of me just rambling and talking and bashing, but understandably, I understand why this album is what it is. You guys are going to rate the album, of course, but I understand why it happened, and I understand where the band came from. And they still perform songs from this album live. And I enjoy it when they do it. Not because of the fact that they sound better live, it's because they respect every album that they've ever done. So, that's just what it is. So, you comment down below and you tell me what you personally think about St. Anger. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens. So, like the video, you subscribe wherever that subscribe is up there for more videos. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.